If you're looking to pick up a BMW but not sure what the common trouble spots are for that specific engine, then you'll want to stay tuned for what we're going to cover in today's video because we're going to go over several different BMW models that people are typically looking at nowadays, whether it be something on the entry level side like a 4-cylinder all the way up to the V8s. And we're going to address all the issues in these cars, or at least the common issues. And then you're also going to realize that there's a common theme here, is that just because there was a common issue on one model, it doesn't necessarily transfer over into the following models. And one of the first things that we're going to cover today is actually the B48 engine. So this is going to be, the N20 and 26. This is probably, if you're looking to just get into BMWs, if you're somebody who's interested potentially in a SULEV BMW in order to pick up on that towards the end, but still applicable 15-year, 150,000 mile warranty, basically anything emissions related, if it goes wrong, including the turbo, including the catalytic converter, it's going to be covered by your state or the federal program. And even the inspection should be covered. Some dealerships may not want to do that, but generally speaking, it is only going to be approved. The SULEV warranty is only going to be approved by dealerships or BMW approved shops. And what you'll see here is with the N20 and 26 engine, the biggest thing here that you can see it right here. Let's see here. I actually had it up. Oh, maybe the page refreshed. But people typically thought that the 4-cylinder BMWs would be reliable because they were underpowered for what they could provide, and they offered a good amount of power because they were turbocharged. But the biggest issue is the timing chain guide. The timing chain and the timing chain guide were prone to breaking, cracking, especially in the first generation of the N26 or N20 engine. Now, the real big difference here between the N20 and N26 is the N20, it had certain modifications and adjustments made upon it in order for it to qualify for the SULEV program. So the N20, you can think of it as the SULEV version of the N26, but for the most part, they're identical. And, you know, this is a very expensive fix. And so what BMW did was they recalled it. Basically, if your car was under so many thousands of miles, or I think it was just the mileage. It didn't matter the year. It was really just the mileage. Then they would cover it. You would bring it back and they would service it. They would put in the new guides and it was good to go. And it's not necessarily that the guides are bad or that the engine is going to make the guide go bad prematurely or the chain fail. It had to do something with the actual material of the guide itself. I'm not sure if the plastic just wasn't treated right, the composition wasn't right, maybe it was a bad batch, whatever it is. As soon as they replaced the timing chain guide with the new ones, then they were fine. And a lot of the newer N26s and N20s didn't really have this problem going forward. So that's really like the biggest thing with the N26. Of course, you have some of the universal BMW issues like valve cover leaks, oil filter housing gaskets, things like that. Another issue that arose with these N20 and N26 engines is actually the oil pressure sensor leak. This one, as you can see here, this is what it looks like once you take it out. But see all this like crud here? That's that's what a leak is from the oil pressure sensor. That's what it looks like. It's not necessarily always going to be something that drips down onto the pavement or on your driveway. If it's a slow leak like this, the leak could actually kind of dry up before it hits pavement. But you will see this residue, and that's exactly what to look for at the oil pressure sensor, which on the N55s, it's very easy. It's like right on top of the engine. But with the N26, you actually have to like navigate down into the engine bay a little bit. Let's see if we can get a picture here. I'm actually going to do a video on this probably this week. Let's see here. So that's, if I'm not mistaken, this is an N55 just based off of the placement, or N54, so a 6-cylinder. But the N26, let's see if we can pull it up here. It's down there. It's down on the left side, or if you're in the United States, the driver's side. But it looks exactly like this. However, let's just do this. Wow. So we can't even get a picture of it here. This is the front of the engine, so I doubt that you'll be able to see it. Okay, so if I'm going to cheat a little bit, in this picture, you have to look down in this crevice here and like towards the bottom of the engine block here. So like look through this opening, kind of off to the side, just behind the charge pipe, you'll see that sensor that we were just looking at. This one. So you'll look for something like this, like a clear, it's a 24 millimeter hex actually, or nut design kind of thing. But it's nylon. You'll look for something like this down in this area, and that's your oil pressure sensor leak. For the most part, that's generally like the common issues that are associated with the N26. Like I said, you have some universal things like charge pipes, turbo inlet pipes, valve cover, oil, filter housing gaskets. Those things can also go bad with this car, just because they are prone to excessive heat because of the turbo. But the thing is that they can dissipate the heat better, all things being equal, because there's more opening, there's more space in here. So say for instance, like you open up the hood to kind of release some of the heat, or if you have a hood vent or whatever, because there's not as much, it's not as tightly packed in there, the hot air can escape easier. But when BMW went to fix this or make the following engine, which is the B48, you can see that, you know, like the valve cover can be an issue, but also with a lot of BMWs, oil consumption can be a problem. But I will say that, you know, if your car isn't being tracked, if you're not driving it really hard, if it's not like over 20 years old, BMW has gotten really good in terms of preventing the oil consumption with their cars, albeit the M cars are the exception to that rule. I think maybe because this is already around the time when BMW got partnered with Toyota. So probably by Toyota standards, the B48 probably consumes too much oil. But even on my N55, you know, when I'm done with an oil change, I've never really had to go back, probably with the exception to like right after an oil change, in order to let the oil filter suck up some oil. I've never had to, beyond that point, add more oil. And so the B48 is after the N55 chronologically. So I doubt that it's had like major issues like this. So one of the issues that people are going to ask with this car is, does the B48 have timing chain issues? Because the predecessor did. And it says that it does with the timing chain tensioner. However, the B48 is backed by that same SULEV warranty. If I'm not mistaken, there's a non-SULEV version of the B48. But the B48 in of itself, you can see here, it's the same thing. It's a 4-cylinder engine, very similar design to the N26 in terms of its size and the chassis that it goes in and things like that. And you'll have some people that kind of complain about the timing chain tensioner and the guide itself. But if you look at the failure rate between the two chassis, even if you want to compare like the first models of N20 and 26, as well as the first produced B48s, the failure rate is a whole lot less on the B48 because BMW went back and kind of redesigned, re-overhauled, re-evaluated what needed to be fixed and fixed it. Not only that is because once they got into bed with Toyota for the Supra in terms of the B58, which we'll get into towards the end, BMW borrowed a lot of that technology in terms of engine reliability from Toyota in exchange for, you know, some of the suspension components and well as the power output from BMW, you know, giving that to Toyota. Toyota kind of shedded some light on how to make the cars more reliable. So I would say anything in terms of engine production, anything post Supra, BMW has been very reliable because they've been able to carry over that technology into their subsequent engines. Now, one engine that came along before, you know, the B48 and the N26 is the S65. This is the only V8 that we're going to cover in today's video, but this is the M engine that predates the highly sought after like F80, F82, F87, basically the F chassis M cars. This is the engine that came before it. And a lot of the common issues with this engine, a lot of people, or I should say a lot of previous owners or people who are looking to buy this specific engine thought they had to do on the S55. It's kind of weird, right? You know, you have S65, which you would think is the later model versus the S55, which actually is the later model. But the S65 is in fact the V8, right? And so we all know that the common problems here, the first of it being the rod bearing issue. Let's see here. Someone had a list. Here we go. So most common problems seem to be the actuators, rod bearings, and then, you know, this is going to depend on whether or not that you have a manual or a automatic. But if you ask anybody about the S65, they're all going to say get the rod bearings done if there's no legitimate service record of it being done, because this is a common fail point that can happen on these cars, because I believe it's copper, and then you have to, you know, upgrade it to something else because the copper can't withstand the tolerances, the oil, as well as the pressure that's involved. It's a combination of all those things, right? It's the wrong bearing material to use with that type of tolerance at that oil weight at that amount of pressure, right? It's not necessarily just one thing. It's a combination of things. They all work together at this point. And so this is what a lot of people have to worry about with the S65. If you're not mechanically inclined, and even if you are, if you're not organized when it comes time to doing the rod bearings, this is going to be challenging. Some of you may have seen some of my other videos. This is a task that, as of right now, I'm going to say confidently, I don't feel comfortable doing. I wouldn't want to do it for myself. I wouldn't want to do it for my friends. I wouldn't want to do it even if somebody paid me. That's how sure I am that, I'm not. I think my biggest issue here is I'm not that organized or detailed when it comes to, lining up all the bearings, making sure that the tolerances are correct. You have to get the it's not a tape, but you have to get the it's almost like a putty almost that will check the tolerances. I mean, I've seen the procedure done, but just because you've seen it on YouTube doesn't mean that you can do it in real life. And this is definitely one of the things where I'm going to say, I've seen it on YouTube and I can't do it in real life. Now, when we move over to the S55, you might say, okay, well then I'm not going to get the S65 because that's very labor intensive. I don't want to do it. It's an older car. And yeah, it'd be cool to have a V8, but BMW is really known for their straight sixes. So I'm going to get the newer M cars that have the S55. And I would say, hold on, because this also has something that I would say requires a mechanic, not necessarily because the install is hard. Unbolting the crank hub, which you see here right at the top as far as the common issues are concerned, that is a challenging thing, as well as tightening it. But let's just say you're able to overcome that. The hardest issue when you're installing the crank hub or the new crank hub is a lot of them are keyed or they're locked in with like dowel pins or whatever it is. It is having the ability to, if you use the pins, drill straight on and align it to the pins. Because if it's not, those pins could snap. And then the other ones that are keyed, you have to really grind away a lot of material in order for that key to fit properly. And so that's what makes that job challenging. It's getting off and getting on the crank hub bolt, which in of itself is a challenge. And then you have to drill one way or another. And some companies are good. They give you guides and components in order to make it easier, but it is still a daunting task because unless you're willing to rip out almost the entire front end, you're working in a very limited space. Plasti gauge, that's what it is. Thank you, Soul Slinger. So Soul Slinger is saying that the gauge that I was talking about that you put on the rod bearings to make sure that it's within tolerance, it's called plasti gauge. Yeah, so that's what makes working with the S55 challenging. And when I say common issues, it's not that eventually some point in time down the line, this thing will fail. Because, like on the E46 M3s, those rod bearings are going to go bad too. But that car is like well into its 20s, mid-20s at this point, right? So eventually all of these cars are going to have these issues. When I say common issues with these BMWs, it's referring to problems that could arise like pretty much like right when you take it off the lot. Issues that could come up with these cars while they're still under warranty or right when they come out of warranty. So the rod bearing issues, if you push it, that issue could happen. With the S55, even, stock, completely stock, right? If you give it a little bit of juice, the crank hub could spin. With the N26 or N20s, that timing chain guide could fail for whatever reason. And so that's what I mean by common issues, right? There are some universal BMW issues that will arise over time just with age, as all cars have issues with age. But these are going to be the problems that will arise specifically for these cars quicker than normal, or could happen even under stock conditions. We have other things here like the charge cooler, the oil pan gasket. Again, this kind of refers to, I would say, like these two, like the crank hub could happen no matter what, right? Doesn't matter. You track your car, you daily it, whatever. These two things here, they can happen, right? From at least from my research, these things can happen. However, these things are more prone to like the use case of the driver, right? So if you track your car, if you drag your car, if you race your car on the street, which you shouldn't, take it for what you will, right? These things can happen prematurely the more aggressive you are with your car's use, right? But it's not always going to happen if you just drive the car moderately and occasionally drive it rough, right? So I would say like these three things: charge cooler, valve cover, oil pan gasket. It's not that big of a deal. And on the S55, there's a baffle. So when they say like the oil pan gasket, like that oil pan gasket is really good, and the car itself is really good at circulating the oil itself. So I would say actually the N55 is more likely, all things being equal, to have oil pan gasket failures because it doesn't control the flow of oil as well as the S55 oil pan. And just for anybody who is curious, the S55 oil pan is a direct fit, is like a direct fit retrofit for the N55. So if you track your N55, in order to prevent oil starvation at higher Gs, what a lot of people have done is not only do they add more oil, which is the easy answer, but then of course you're increasing the amount of work that your engine has to do. And two is you're also increasing weight and wear on your car. If you want to run the same amount of oil and prevent the starvation at higher Gs, then you use the S55 oil pan gasket. It's a little bit of a pain because you do have to drop the subframe, but if you track your car, then I'm sure that you're willing to put in the work for that. Now, the next one that we have up. So we've kind of discussed the opposite ends of the pole, right? We started with the N26 as well as the B48. So we're talking about the entry-level BMWs. And then we talked about the M cars, so the S65 that led up into the S55. Again, you're starting to realize that there's a theme here, that just because the previous engine and maybe even previous model had X problem, that problem may have been fixed with the newer cars. However, the new car might have just as equally challenging problems as we've seen from S65 to 55. But with the N54, this is where I think BMW does their best work, is in the mid-range. And I say that because BMW, in its history, is new to 4-cylinder engines, right? Most of the time they do 6-cylinder engines, but in their time making cars, if I'm not mistaken, they have more time with V8s than 4-cylinder engines. And so I believe their 6-cylinder engines do the best work because that's where they're the most knowledgeable, but because they're not trying to overpower them, because they kind of want to bring them down just a notch so they're not in direct competition with the M cars. And Mark, yes, we did go over the N20 at the very beginning. And then we went into M cars, and now we're kind of getting to the bread and butter of the BMWs, which is their 6-cylinder engines. And I know that the S55 is, but we're talking about the 6-cylinder engines that are not M cars. And this is where we really see the magic of it. And I know that we've really only talked about turbocharged BMWs because at this day and age, if you look up, basically, with the exception to like the E90 generation of cars, right? If you look up E36, E46, you see common problems, you're going to see everything pop up, because now everybody is saying it's a common problem on this car because they've had the issue. But again, those cars have been in circulation for over 20, 30 years at this point. So at some point, everything with that car has been an issue. And because there have been so many cars in production, it's been in circulation for so long, everything with those cars is a common problem. But if you're looking to just get into BMWs, whether you're in that 10K starting price point or you want to go all the way up to 70K, this is probably the market that you're going to look at if you're not looking to buy a brand new BMW. And so that's why we're starting out with these cars. But the N54 is, if I'm not mistaken, the first generation of turbocharged BMWs on the 6-cylinder platform. And with the N54, this is like a love-hate relationship, depending on what you want to do with your car. N54 common problems. You have the walnut blasting that you have to do because of the carbon buildup. Because these cars are direct injection, the detergents from the gas don't go on top of the valves, so they don't get cleaned the same way. So you have that carbon buildup there. You also have the spontaneous, let's call it, combustion of the charge pipe, turbo inlet pipe. You have the boost pipe. All those plastic components are prone to failure just because their proximity to the engine, the heat cycling, and just the, I'm not even going to say relative, the actual thinness of those plastic components will cause it to fail. So you can see here, oh, we even have high pressure fuel pump up here. I would say this is more of a use case scenario because, so we just listed off all the things that you could hate about the N54. The things that you love about the N54 is that it's got that single big turbo, or you could put in a single big turbo, I should say, and it can make incredible power, a lot more power than the N55, which is the engine that came after it that we're going to touch on in just a second. So it has more potential. It has the potential to make more power than the engines that came after it. And so what a lot of people do is they put on all the power modifications, they do the tune, they do all those things, and then they don't do the high pressure fuel pump. That's what could lead to the failure. So same thing here, you know, oil filter, housing gasket, serpentine belt, same thing. This happens on a lot of the BMWs, but I'll be honest, the serpentine belt shredding or failure, this is more of a failure on the owner of the car not getting it done at the interval, which is about, I would say, depending on the car, 30 to, if you really want to stretch it, 60,000. I wouldn't do 60,000, but I'm going to have some people in there that say, you know, I can do it all the way up to 100,000. And that's fantastic for you. But in all honesty, if I were to give my opinion, I would say 30 to 40, right? These components, you go on FCP Euro, it's not that expensive. You have the lifetime warranty, whatever, just replace it, right? A lot of the maintenance related things that you have to do involve going into the area for the belt anyway, so just get it done. So I'm going to disagree here and say that the serpentine belt on most BMWs is not an issue with the car or the part itself, even in the case of an oil leak with like the N55, B58, N54. It's a failure of the owner to inspect the car on a regular basis, replace the belt, and address the leaks if that's what's causing the belt to slip and shred. Valve cover gaskets, common issue with the BMWs. Most of this has to deal with like the heat cycling. You know, it's a rubber gasket on a plastic valve cover, so you have some shrinkage and adjustment of the tolerances there. See, and same thing, oil pan gasket leaks. This is like a universal BMW thing. Water pump and thermostat failure. Again, this is kind of like a use case scenario where people are overloading the car on power and the stock cooling components can't keep up. It's really the really big things here are going to be the carbon buildup, and I'm going to say the charge pipes. Yeah, because a lot of the stuff, high pressure fuel pump, water pump, fuel injectors, those are related to the people that are trying to put power on the car, but not doing the, I would say, the upkeep when it comes to getting that much power onto the car. They do all of the fancy modifications like a turbo, like exhaust, a tune. Maybe they do the charge pipes. They do catless downpipe. They do all those things, but they don't do the water pump. They don't do the thermostat. They don't do the high pressure fuel pump, the injectors. They don't do those things. So just keep that in mind too, as you're looking around for which BMW to get. Some of the common problems are not necessarily problems with the car itself. It's problems with the people who get the car that don't address these things when it comes time to modification or routine maintenance in terms of the serpentine belt. But the great thing about the N55 and the B48 that comes after it is that BMW made a ton of improvements with this engine. And so, like you'll see here, the N55 is very solid. Same thing here. You have a lot of people saying water pump failure. Again, I've had my car for over 70,000 miles. This is usually a problem when people overload the car with power but don't address the water pump. Vano solenoid failure. Again, oh, actually, no. The N55 is a unique one here, actually, so I need to correct myself. So the N55 actually, there's there's several versions of the N55. The N55 is actually a wide umbrella because you have E chassis N55s and then you have N chassis N55. Oh, sorry. E chassis N55s and F chassis N55s. And then throughout the N55's course of life, it's had a few different renditions, right? So you have the one that has the intake that's basically run through the front, that's like the newer model, and then you have the one that's kind of like it brings in air from the front and then it scoops it around from the back. You see that a lot in like the X3s, I believe. While like the M235i has like the more modern version of the N55, and then of course you have the E chassis version of it. So when you say N55 common problems, you have to make sure which version of the N55 they're referencing to. But again, I would say water pump, high pressure fuel pump. Let's see. Those are going to be the ones where people are trying to put power down. Vano solenoid, maybe that's more of an E chassis thing. I think when I was researching my N55, that became an issue. Valve cover oil leak, it's a common BMW thing, not just with the N55. Oil filter housing gasket, again, a common BMW issue. I'm actually surprised. Out of all the chassis that we've gone after and looked at, none of them mentioned the Mickey Mouse coolant flange, which has been an issue with BMWs since like maybe even before the E90 generation. Nobody's listed that. And I'm really surprised because that is a universal BMW issue. And that just kind of goes to show me that, you know, this is just a curated search on Google, right? You guys can pull this up for yourselves if you want to run it on any other search engine. But a lot of this stuff is based off of what people have reported, not necessarily like someone took a mass survey and came up with this information. It just goes to show that not a lot of people are doing that aspect of the maintenance with their cars, which is a terrible thing because if that thing cracks and breaks, you're going to have coolant all over the place. You're going to be stranded and your engine has the potential to overheat even if you shut it off. So that is concerning. But the N55 definitely has issues with the charge pipe. It could crack, it could break, so you definitely want to replace that. The turbo inlet pipe can crack. So both of mine cracked. I had to replace them. I would say while you're there, just go ahead and do the intercooler and the boost pipe. Get that all done. Do the Mickey Mouse flange. That's another plastic component. The valve cover can definitely leak. I just had to replace mine, as well as the oil pan. But again, that is a common BMW thing, not necessarily an N55 thing. It's really follow the flow of air. So it comes in through the intake. The intakes are pretty solid. It's the turbo inlet pipe that can fail. You can have some wastegate rattle, but more on the N20 and 26 engines than the N55. The boost pipe, it's rubber, so it's not that big of a deal. But if you're already going to replace the intercooler, I would say go ahead and do it, because the intercooler has a lot of plastic. Then you go up into the charge pipe. That can definitely break and crack even under stock boost. Replace that. So you can see that BMW is getting better and better here. And then when we finally get to, you know, the poster child of BMW as of late, the B58, you can see that BMW has addressed a lot of the problems. But same thing, you have common BMW issues, you know, vanos, problems, valve cover gasket, oil filter disintegration. That's probably more of a maintenance thing, or a lack of maintenance, I should say. Excessive coolant consumption. So that's one of the issues with the B58. The cooling components are not the best, especially the carrying components like the hoses are not the best. So if you can replace them with either silicone ones, if you can replace like your oil lines, you know, move away from rubber if you can, or get something like a like an AN line, that'll be better. It's really the coolant components that aren't the strongest on the B58. And again, you want to know how a lot of people found out about these issues? It was because they were putting excessive power into it and using their cars kind of as test dummies when it came time to tune them. So before people really cracked the code as far as the B58 on terms of what can make reliable power safely, consistently with, you know, XYZ generic mods, a lot of people ran into these common B58 issues because people were still figuring out the car. And so that's what led to a lot of these problems. But now that, you know, these problems have been known for a few years now, people have come out with aftermarket components. The tuners have kind of dialed things back, been able to reduce some of the cooling or reduce some of the heat by boosting some of the cooling components output. The B58 has become even more reliable. I'm going to say just kind of disregard the oil filter disintegration. I mean, I don't know. You guys here in the chat, let me know. But this is like the first time that I've seen this one. And in all honesty, this can happen with any car if you never change the oil filter. So I really do think that this is more of a lack of maintenance issue. And really the B58, the reason why I believe it's truly reliable is because it's partnered with Toyota. Toyota's not going to slap its name on some unreliable engine. And if you look at Toyota too, they stick with one engine for a very long time. It's not like the BMWs where you have an N55, an N54, an N55, and a B58, kind of like the successor to each. The Supra has been out for a while now, and it's been on that B58 for a long time. That engine has not changed on that chassis. And if Toyota has any say in terms of the engine that goes in, the B58 will be the only engine in the Supra if Toyota has any say about it. But with each year, Toyota's going to improve the B58. And then that way, like, you know, anybody who's had a Honda, a Civic, or a Toyota, whatever, you know that all those parts are interchangeable. A lot of people will take, you know, parts from an older Honda Civic within the same generation and put it into an older one. And sometimes there's some cross, you can switch it over from other models as well. But generally speaking, the younger version, or how should I say this, the newer version of that engine, those components can be placed on the first generation version of that engine. And that's kind of been like Toyota and Honda's philosophy for a long time. So I would be really surprised if they have equal say in this collaboration of the Supra. I would be really surprised if there's any engine that goes inside of the Supra other than a B58. I would say it's got to serve out like at least 6, 8, 10 years. That's kind of what they do. And then I would say like that final version of the B58 is going to be the best. And then if they continue their partnership and they launch off from that, then that following engine is going to be even better. So with that, let's go ahead and open it up for Q&A and see what we have here. Jonathan, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Alex, I couldn't agree more. Maintenance is definitely key. Soul Slinger, how's it going? I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you're doing well up there. Graham, wondering if you can diagnose my M235i every 4 months. I have to add a quart of oil. I also have a very heavy right foot. Not sure if they are related. I haven't had that issue with leaking. Yeah, I haven't had that issue every 4 months. Let's see, if you drive it 10,000 miles, so that's going to be about 4,000 miles. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, is your car tuned? What modifications do you have on your car? Joshua, hey man, I was thinking of getting a BMW 335i. What are some things I should do to keep the car more reliable and make sure it doesn't blow up? I would say it depends on which 335i you get. If you're talking like early 2000s, late 2000s, well, I guess if it has a turbocharged engine, definitely address the charge pipes. Definitely address the valve cover. However, if you're buying your car from a dealership and you look at that valve cover and it's not good, just tell them like, hey, like either you lower the price, like how much do you, like ask them how much they charge to service the valve cover and tell them they're going to have to either cover the valve cover if you're going to buy it from them, or they're going to have to lower the price basically by what they charge to do a valve cover. If you feel confident in yourself to do it, then I would say just tell them like, hey, you got to knock it down at least a couple grand because I got to do the valve cover. My nephew had the same thing with his Audi, and they actually said, okay, you know what? The price is the price, but we'll fix the valve cover. Those cars at their age, I would say look out for the water pump, the thermostat, Mickey Mouse flange if you're already working with coolant, and then go from there. I would say also look at the previous owner's service history too before you jump into it. Soul Singer, I took the plastics off my engine to allow it to cool better. Oh, okay, like the vanity cover, probably even the foam too. Yeah, so Soul Singer brought up a great point. Is, you know, you have the vanity cover, you have some of the things that make the engine bay look nice, but they essentially, all they do is trap heat, right? They look nice, but they trap heat, and that's what could lead to the warping of the valve cover, to the, it's still going to happen, but potentially premature combustion of the charge pipe because there's just more heat there. So the range of the heat cycling is increased. Great point there. That's a good one. Graham, love your channel. I love working on my car, and you've been instrumental, pun intended, in helping me. Thank you so very much. No problem, Graham. Hope I continue to help, and I'm glad that the videos have been helpful for you. I hope I can help you figure out what's going on with your car actually today. But if not, the people in the chat are great here too. Soul Slinger is definitely one of the MVPs here. So thank you so much again, Soul Slinger, for telling me about the plastic gauge. Any jobs involving this, you want a professional, and a warranty on the work. I won't touch those jobs myself. Good point. I mean, Soul Singer is like a professional mechanic in like everything, land, sea, air. So I'm glad that my sentiment was backed up as far as, you know, having it done at a shop. And another great point by Soul Singer is have it warranted. How's it going, Hyde? Hope everything is going well. I can imagine how you feel doing oil change within a space of 4 months of you regularly doing oil change. Do you see that this is not an issue. Yeah, I mean, I guess it really depends. It always is going to depend on, do you track your car? And he said he had a heavy foot, so I guess it depends on how heavy that is and how often that happens. I would say if it happens every 5 months, and if you're one of those people that likes to do your oil change every 5,000 miles, and you're kind of, well, actually you're close. Some people commute about 1,200 miles per month. So you're at like 48. You're almost close to 5. So if you're one of those people that does prefer to change your oil at 5,000 miles, then you're pretty much going to do an oil change anyways. So it kind of doesn't matter that you're losing oil. I would say you might want to top off at 2 months because it should be relatively linear in terms of the amount of oil that you're losing. Of course, just based off of like science, the more fluid you have, the harder it is to evaporate. So generally speaking, as you lose oil due to like heat, you lose oil faster with the less amount of oil that you have. So it's not exactly linear, but say for example, you have to top off a quart at 4 months. You might not necessarily need to top off half a quart. Maybe it's only a quarter of a quart at 2 months. So I would say just check it at 2 months. And then if you change your oil every, 5,000 miles, you're pretty much right there anyways. Let's see here. But let's just say it was consistent, right? Let's just say it was. I mean, you could push off your oil changes too, depending on how much oil you need to add, because technically that's fresh oil every time. But you do have to keep in mind your oil filter and what the mileage is rated for that. Let's see. Mark, don't worry about it, man. You're never too late. You can always rewind. And hopefully, if you have any questions for us, we can answer them for you. Late, on time, watching it on a different day, it doesn't matter. As long as the content is hopefully helpful, then that's all I'm looking to do. US Vidgem, how's it going, man? Thanks again for the desk recommendation. So I'm actually kind of changing my at-home desk setup. I have a Costco. It's like a glass standing desk right now, but it's small. So I want a bigger desk, a bigger monitor. I feel like my workspace is too compact. So I want to have a little bit more space, not only on the desk, but in the edit bay and things like that. So I'm either looking at getting a black tempered glass, because I do like to handwrite a lot of things, or should I go with a wood top? The issue is that I already have a wood top, but it's a maple wood top. Long story, but I have it now. And maple's extremely hard to work with, and it's also a lighter wood. I want to, as you can probably tell by the black tempered glass, I want a darker desktop. So as much as I would actually like the wood top, I want a darker wood. And US Vidgem, he gave me great ideas because he did a dark wood top. He basically custom made it himself. So sorry about that tangent, but US Vidgem said, Graham, have you confirmed that you don't have a leak somewhere? I too have an M235i and drive it like I stole it. I never have to add oil. Okay, that's right. Yeah, got to check for leaks. Well, actually, 4 months leak. I guess a combination with the heat and maybe the valve cover. If I'm thinking, I was trying to think like what leak it could be like a combination of valve cover, blow by, and then like I said, just the heat as well as the use case. And Jonathan is asking how many miles. US Vidgem, I'm at 67K. Ooh, you're right behind me. On his 2016, my inner 12-year-old is really looking forward to hitting 69. 420. Oh my goodness. Oh, this guy. All right. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Guy, remember to drop a like. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for that, Mark. Appreciate it. Yeah. Well, I mean, leave a like if you feel that it's helpful. If not, feel free to leave me some constructive criticism, and we'll get better. Jose, is that how I say it? Can steering wheel get unaligned in an F30? Yes. Not necessarily like the steering wheel itself, but typically it's going to be something along the lines of your control arms, your tie rod ends, your thrust arms, something to that extent is loosened, bent, something like that. So if your steering wheel is unaligned, the car is probably also unaligned. So you'll probably have to get something addressed with that. Jonathan is confirming that. Okay, you're at 65K on your 435. Okay, look at all the N55 owners over here. We're kind of all at the same mileage issue. Just say, yeah, no problem at all. Happy to help. Jonathan, no oil consumption. Knock on wood. Yeah, I think we all should. F chassis N55s are more reliable. Yep, and that goes back to the sentiment of BMW does get better. I think you kind of have to pick and choose, right? Some people don't like Toyotas because, a dime a dozen, right? But then in this case, the dimes get better every single year. With BMWs, they get better throughout the course of their lifespan, but their lifespans are so much shorter. So you have some people that say, you know what, I want to get a new car every so many years, but I don't want to get the same exact car when I'm ready to get a new car. Then BMW is kind of it for you. The thing is that BMW is willing to try to do new things to like make, I guess, more innovative engines, more innovative components. But with that comes the potential for some shortcomings, right? So there's a pro and a con to working on the same engine for a long amount of time, is because it just gets better and better and better, more reliable throughout its life, versus BMW, where that phrase or that train of thought only carries so much weight, because within 5 or 6 years they have a new engine and they got to do it all over again. But if you're somebody who's like, well, at least they try, I want to try something different, I want something different, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but while I have the car, it's under warranty, then that is kind of the pros and cons for that. Let's see here. US Vigim N55 gang, is that one more, the thin coolant return hose? Yes. Oh my God. I don't know how I forget about that. Yeah, that thin coolant line. Yeah, that thing is a POS, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Yep. I don't even know what to say. Yep. That's a common fail point right there. That's a one more. Jonathan. Yeah, failed that on me. Yep. I think all three of us had that fail, right? Who else has an N55 and had that little cool? You guys know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I'm talking about. You guys know this thing. We all know about this thing. How to get rid of engine light, or common if it's due to no cat. Yeah, so if you don't have a cat, that check engine light's going to come on. If you code your car with something like BM3, MHD, something like that, a lot of them have a feature in there that allows you to disregard that check engine light based off of the postcat O2 sensor. Jonathan, Mickey Mouse coolant flange effects, all N5X cars and B engines. Yeah. Why they haven't, I mean, like, I don't know anybody who's had at least 2 BMWs. Some people it's just one, and they're like, wow, I definitely would have paid an extra $50 from factory to have a metal flange. BMW, if you're watching this, just put in the metal flange, charge an extra $50. We all know that you're still ripping us off at $50. They're probably going to charge like $300 extra. But we all know that it takes like 25 cents to make that piece for you guys. Making it in bulk and where you make it, come on, just do it already. Soul Slinger, having an M car, I had to come to terms with the fact that an engine replacement will happen one day. It's 20 years old, 138,000 is not bad. Eventually the V8 is going to go no matter what I do. Well, honestly, if I wonder, let's see here. A 535 has 500,000 miles. $250. Well, Soul Singer, you're not there yet. I'd bet money. I'd bet money you could get it up to 300. I mean, yeah, eventually it'll need it, but I mean, you're the one who's working on it, so I mean, you can keep that thing running, man. The previous owner of my car did not treat it well. I'll talk about the balance of powers, though, right? Someone who didn't treat it well, and then now the car is with you. How long have you had? So out of the 183,000, or I guess how many miles did the car have when you got it? Yeah, Jonathan saying you got a scan, definitely. Any particular intercooler you recommend for the N55? VRSF is a great bang for your buck if you want the most lightweight intercooler, and if you do a lot of track or if you do a lot of freeway driving, you could go with Wagner. I did a comparison video a while back, actually. So there you go. Currently I run the Wagner, and it was just a coincidence. I was rubbing too much. This is before I got the Swift springs, and I really needed to find a way to kind of bring up the front end of the car, and that drop by like about 10 pounds really helped. It's actually a combination of 30 pounds between 20 on the hood and 10 on the intercooler, and that's what got me to stop rubbing the first time around. But then when I upgraded the wheels and tires, I had to go to something like the Swift springs in order to accommodate it. There was no way that I could really reduce any more weight. Let's see here. Oh, that's unfortunate. I lost my spot. Oh, wow. I'm really behind in the chat. Okay, here we go. Doctors are, yes, my coolant hose cracked. You're right, M235i. We got another one. Graham, I did a valve cover gasket leak and it was replaced, so hopefully it's good. Did my oil filter housing gasket years ago, but man, this right foot of mine. Maybe that's it. Oil filter housing gasket, I would say it depends on how many years ago. Just give it a check. But then the thing is with the oil filter housing gasket, it's not just that. It's the oil filter housing gasket. It's the cooler gaskets. It's the oil cooler lines that run through the front. So there's a lot of gaskets that are involved there. You can also check your turbo inlet pipe as well as your charge pipe. If you have any oil residue in there, then you have excessive blow-by. So that could also be a potential cause of it. Let's see here. Jose is saying he wants a Mark V Supra, a dream BMW. You can get there, man. I mean, you know, the cars are gonna age. You know, as the car ages, the first generation's gonna get older and cheaper, and you know, only thing that happens, you know, for you is that you're going to become more successful, you're going to make more money, and it's going to become a reality for you. So I can't wait for the day that that dream of yours becomes a reality. Mark, I had my oil filter housing gasket fail internally. It cracked the coolant expansion. Oh no, N20. I think that a maintenance issue for all BMWs. Oh, fail internally. So it failed, got clogged, and that's how it. That's the first time I've heard that one, actually. I have to look into that. Is that something that you're dealing with now, or is that something that you already fixed? Let's see here, US Vidgem. Son's roommate coming up Saturday for me to look at his 2017 M240i. He is having a noise while accelerating. I think it may be a heat shield, maybe hitting the drive shaft, busting out my auto fix scanner. Oh, right on. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen it yet, I recently did two videos actually on scan tools. I'm gonna say that so it's this one. Do you need a bidirectional scan tool? This one's for the auto fix, and then the other one is the best scan tool of 2024. It's the launch scan tool. And so for those, I would say for the money, it's really hard to beat the launch. But if you want something with all the bells and whistles, personally, if it's within your budget, I would say get the auto fix. I like the layout better. It seems a little bit more straightforward. It's wireless. It's a tablet that's been converted into a scan tool, so you can go on like the internet and stuff. And no, it's not like an entertainment tablet, but you can like take the code or the code from the scan tool portion, put it into your browser and figure out what it is. But also the autofix will tell you like what the code means and what the common fixes or potential fixes are for it. And then if you want to expand upon that, then you use the browser. The launch will just tell you what's wrong with it. Jam, I hear like a hiss sound when I go over a speed bump or bumpy road. Any help, please? Maybe suspension. A hiss. A hiss. Like a sharp hissing sound. The only thing I can think of is check your belts. Suspension is kind of more like a clunky noise. If you hear like a hiss and a rattle, I would say check your belt and tensioner. If it's more like a hiss, like air is being leaked out of a cylinder, that could be your shocks. If you look at your shocks and there's kind of like sticky residue kind of coming out, like we saw with the oil pressure sensor here. Let's see here. So on your shocks, if you see kind of like this residue like this, then that's definitely your suspension. Basically, the fluid is leaked out or it's leaking out. So check those two things. A hiss. Those are a hiss. But yeah, I mean, even if that happens at your shocks, it doesn't give off that loud of a sound. But then again, it's hard without hearing the actual sound. Okay, US Vingems got something for you, Dr. Czar. Jam, you got an F30. Yeah, I would say just check your belt and tensioner, like that hiss. Yeah, that hiss and kind of like a rumbling sound or a scratching kind of sound. That's more like a belt and tensioner thing over a speed bump. It depends. It's hard. It's hard without hearing the actual sound, but that's kind of what I'm envisioning right now. JC, don't you know how to fix code 118001 mixture too lean BMW 520 N20? Too lean. So you have too much air in there. I'm going to assume it's something along the lines of your spark plugs, your fuel injectors, or your ignition coils. You can check if you have an air leak somewhere, but okay, so it could also be your MAF sensor, a vacuum leak, yep, fuel pressure, yeah, so that's the fuel injectors there. Hopefully it's not your fuel pump. Yeah. So the easiest thing to do is check see if you have a leak, and then if you've done that, if you haven't changed your fuel injectors, if you haven't changed your ignition coils or your spark plugs, you could address that. And then if that's still an issue, maybe you'll get another code that can help kind of pinpoint where the problem is. But yeah, I don't want to necessarily say jump to injectors right away because that's kind of expensive. But at least with your spark plugs and your ignition coils, those are regularly interval things that need to be replaced. Riot Squad. So what should I buy? An N55 or a B58? It's a $3,000. Is it worth the price difference? Yes, I'm going to say yes. Get the B58. I would say if it's still a stretch, I would still say get the B58, drive it gingerly until you can address the cooling components. That's the best course of action. Because the other thing about it too is like, yes, you're saving $3,000 on the N55, but the valve, all things being equal, the N55 valve cover, it's going to leak sooner, or it's going, yeah, in like you buying it in terms of relevancy to you. The N55's valve cover will leak before the B58. The oil filter housing gaskets will leak before the B58. Depending on the age of the B58, you're going to have to replace the belt sooner. All of the maintenance related things you're going to have to do sooner for that N55 than the B58. The difference of $3,000 is not that bad. If it's the same chassis too, that means everything's equal. The only difference is the engine. Then yeah, you go for the B58. US Vision, Jonathan's got something for you here. Jose, is it normal to start losing speed without having right foot on pedal almost instantly? If you're in the rain and you haven't changed your brake fluid in a while, yes, that is your automatic brake drying fluid system, or that's your automatic brake drying system, I should say, overreacting because you have moisture in the lines, and then the water that gets splashed from the rain when you're at higher freeway speeds causes it to overreact. So the simple solution to that is do a brake fluid flush. And hopefully that's the right answer. Jonathan, Jam's gotten something for you, Jonathan. Thanks, guys, for helping me out here in the chat. Right on. Jose, Jam's got something for you here. Mark's got something for JC. I love it, guys. Right, Jonathan's got something for you. Oh, look at you guys taking care of the chat for me, making my job easier. Awesome. I love it. I mean, hey, you guys are chatting with up with each other. If you guys want, drop your Instagram tags or whatever. If you guys do like stuff on social media, you know, I don't have to be the only source of information here. You know, I highly encourage the community to grow and for us to all learn from each other. So if you guys want, feel free to drop your social tags and whatnot, and you know, everybody get to know everybody. Let's see here. JC, I want to see you changing the transmission oil. Please make a video. All right, when the time comes. I'm actually in the middle of a move right now. So I just moved my offices like last month, and then I'm actually changing my residence right now. So I'm kind of been in a transition phase right now. So I haven't actually been making too many videos. Some of it is recorded. I just haven't had the time to edit it. But when the time comes, I will. Jonathan, I did the transmission fluid on mine. Didn't do a video, but it's not too bad. If I'm not mistaken, it's a different engine, but it's similar. Look up. Oh, no copyrights, please. I'm almost certain he did a transmission fluid. It's pretty good. His video is pretty good on it. Oh, here we go. This one. So go ahead and give this video a look. This is very similar to what the N55s have. Let's see here. Jonathan, whoops, read that one already. Jam. All right, no problem. Let's see here. JC's got something for you, Mark. US Vidgem, when is your brake video on the M235i? I actually have not even ordered the parts yet. I haven't ordered the brakes and rotors yet. I've actually ordered, I actually had a crack in my catch bottle for the brake fluid. So I've ordered like all the tools for it. I just haven't ordered the actual brake parts just yet. I'm probably going to wait. I'll probably be settled into my new place early next month. So hopefully sometime after that. But if you need anything from me, man, I mean, you got my information. You send me a message, a picture, whatever. And, you know, I'm more than happy to help you out. And, you know, if I can help you before the video, I want to help you out before the video. Yeah, sorry for the delay on that though. My bad, man. Just say, it could be all, to be honest. I have to slightly tilt the steering wheel to go straight and as a brake service notice. Yeah. I would say just address it, you know, do your brakes, get the alignment, and then go from there. Alignment, maybe like a couple $100. Brakes, it depends on where you go. I mean, you could, hopefully we get that brake video out soon and you can do it yourself and save a lot of money, because I know the brake jobs could be upwards of like close to almost $2,000. You factor in your own alignment, you're probably like right there. Mark has got something for you, JC. US Vidgem did the rear differential. Oh, nice. And clutch fluid last year. Okay. Not difficult with the right tools. Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to the brake and clutch, you got to have that pressure at the top if you're doing it by yourself. The rear differential. Oh, as a side note, the first time I did the brake fluid flush, I used a turkey baster. Don't use that. Turkey baster, the worst. Like back in the day, like that's what people used to use because that was all that was accessible. But now we have like those cool little like they're almost like giant syringes with like the plastic or the flexible hose at the front. Those are much better. Let's say it's technically my first car, so I'm not sure how the brakes and throttle should feel. It's hard to describe that. The throttle should feel linear, albeit in the beginning, it can feel kind of like a dead space. It can feel much more resistant as far as giving you power. But once the car starts to go, I would say once it's past like second and definitely when you're in third gear, it should feel very linear. The brake should feel firm, but not stiff. But if you're getting the light, just change the brakes. The throttle has nothing to do with anything that you got going on. But I would just say, take care of what you got to take care of first. Do the brakes and then do the alignment. Jonathan, an alignment that's off will create drag. If you have brake service notice, have your brakes checked out. Warped rotors will also create. Yep. Yes to everything that Jonathan just said. JC's got something for you, Mark. Jam, love your videos. Help me a lot. Yep. Happy to help. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad that they were helpful for you. US Vigim, also manual trans fluid 3 months ago. Okay. Oh, differential. You said differential before. I was like, oh no, I thought you said that. I'm getting all confused now. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I haven't even done all those I haven't done transmission fluid or differential fluid. I keep saying I'm not going to do the differential because I'm just going to get another differential. But I mean, now I'm moving. So I'm like, oh my goodness, when am I going to get time to do this? I just moved offices. I just settled into a new office. And then I feel like I'm moving to a new place. I'm like, oh my goodness, when am I? Well, hopefully this will be the last move for a while. Rand, can I change my oil every 5? Yes, you can. You can change your oil every 5 to 6,000 miles, even if it takes me 12 months. Yes, you can. That's perfectly fine. Oil in the range that you're talking about, the wear is what you should go by versus the chronological time. Like, don't worry about the oil's age. It's fine. Sometimes oil just sits for like a long time, and it doesn't degrade or anything because it's sealed. But 5 to 6,000 miles, if it takes you a year, it takes you a year. Yeah, 5 to 6,000 is fine. I mean, some people do 5 to 6,000 miles in like 3 or 4 months, and they change it every 5,000 miles or so. So it's not necessarily regulated by months or the age of the oil, but just the use of it. JC, don't be sorry, man. Like I said, we're all here to learn and get better from each other. And thank you for sharing that, actually. But yeah, I mean, if we can help you or more likely than that, you're going to help us. So we appreciate you being here. Don't got to be sorry at all. JC, Mark has got something for you, as well as US Vigim. Jonathan has got something for Rand. Dr. Czar, maybe use a slightly thicker oil to see if your oil consumption reduces. That's a good point too. It depends on where you live, because BMW usually does give us a range of oil that we can work with depending on the climates that we live in. So if you're on the thinner side, you can kind of maybe go up one weight as long as it's within range and you're good to go. Jim, what should I look out for? 2015 F30, 118,000 miles. I am just going to refer you to this video. This should have everything that you're looking for as far as common issues. And I lost my spot again. US Vision, Dr. Czar's got something for you. JC's got something for you, Mark. US Vision's got something for Graham. Jonathan has something for Jam. I love it, guys. And a thanks to Jonathan from Jam for the N20. Jonathan, I forget the year, but somewhere around then the timing chain was not so much an issue on that. Oh, the N20. Yeah, I think I want to say it's like LCI. I want to say it's like 15. $14, off by a year. Oh, no. And 14 replaced the N47 engine with the B47. Oh, I had it in one of my previous videos. I want to say it's like 14-ish. Oh, no, 15. There you go. There we go, 15. Here we go. Jonathan's friend had an N54. The coolant line return. Yeah, that return line. That good old return line. Jam, I've seen videos of you tend to use Eco Pro a lot. It will wear out your timing chain faster than being in comfort. My videos in Eco Pro? I'm almost never in Eco Pro. Maybe she's referring to somebody else. Or he's referring to somebody else. Timing chain. I will admit, if I have an easy commute home, like if it's like late, what I'll do is I'm always like in Sport Plus, but so I'll go in Sport Plus, I'll get to like my cruising speed, cruise control down to Eco Pro. That's what I have a tendency to do, but I'll never climb speeds in Eco Pro. I just don't have the patience for it. US Vision, just seeing that coolant return hose makes me want to buy a spare for the next time I break. Well, good. I mean, hey, the good news is that pretty much every shop, every BMW dealership, if you can count on, if there was like a top 5 as far as like frequent parts that they always have, that is always available. I've never seen a shop or a dealership not have like a gang of those just like somewhere up in the front somewhere. JC, Mark has something for you. He's got 2 somethings for you. Is that an E39 M5, Ryan, from the E39 source rebuilt the engine in his M5 a few years ago, but he also plans on keeping it. Ooh, this one might not be for me, because I don't remember showing an E39 M5. JC, I don't have a warranty. My car has 100 or 73,000 miles. Ooh, 7 years or 70,000 miles. Here you are just outside of that. What year is your car again, JC? Oh, you got a 178. I think you said 182, right? So you've only had it for 4K. Do I have that right? I got to go back. Jonathan, no problem. Wow, so you just got it. I mean, that car is like relatively new to you still. Man, if you can carry that thing over to 3,000, that's impressive. But then again, it's you, so it's not impressive because I know that you can do it. It's impressive to me. Right squad. The bolt on the Mickey Mouse flange snapped on me. Oh, and it turned a 20-minute drive. to an hour drive and had to pull over and fill up the coolant before it reached to. Oh my goodness. Coolant flange. Yeah. That pesky little thing. I don't know why nobody put that on there as like a common issue with BMWs. I'm sorry that happened. But I hope that you got a metal one and never have to worry about it again. Okay, so Soul Singer, you had the car at 178, 183. Okay, my bad. So you only, so 5,000 miles. Still relatively new to you. I'm sure that you can get it there, but yeah, it's tough. The previous owner having it for that long and not taking care of it, that's going to put you, I guess it's definitely going to test your skill set for sure. I mean, it would for anybody. No doubt. I got confidence in you, man. If anyone can do it, you can do it. Let's see here, Mark. I fixed it back in December. I can send you the pictures from the shop. Sure. Send me a DM on Instagram at VroomTuber. And then if you don't mind, would it be okay that we, if I screenshot it and maybe put it up on stories and get other people's opinion too? If you want, up to you. Jonathan, if I have adaptive suspension, do I need to buy a specific shock for that, or can I just look for anything that will fit? So it will fit. I'm not sure if you'll get a drivetrain malfunction. You'll definitely get like an EDC. Oh no, you will get a drivetrain malfunction, and you won't be able to go into Sport Plus. Yeah. So I had an issue with mine, and it's a user error issue. I was adjusting my suspension, and I forgot to plug back in one of my rear coilovers, and it was just one of them. And I couldn't get it into Sport Plus. Like, you'll go into it, but it immediately kicks you out. I've heard there's a way to code it out with certain scan tools. I just haven't been able to find that source again in order to code it out. Or you could just get the KW delete kit. But if you already have a scan tool, I would say just do some research. And if you can find it, Jonathan, I would be so grateful if you could share that with me. Otherwise, you do have to buy the delete kit from like a place like KW. JC, I hear a little noise when pressing the brake pedal just on the front. I don't know if the problem is brakes or control arm. Does anyone have the same noise? Depends on the noise. If it's like a kind of noise, that could be your thrust arm. If like you have that noise and like you actually like feel it, like if you feel the car or if you feel it through the pedal as the noise is happening, that could be your rotors. It really depends on the noise. Dr. Zara saying if you hear it at low speeds, that hiss is a normal shock absorber movement. I hear it all the time. Okay. Let's see here. Jonathan, B58 will also yield facelift tidbits for a car that also had the N55 early in its life cycle. Yeah, I would. Those are additional benefits, I would say, that help make you justify the $3,000. But I mean, the $3,000 as far as N55 to B58. I mean, unless somebody's really married to the N55 platform or the car has real sentimental values, I don't know anybody who you would say, hey, if you pay $3,000, we'll give you the same exact car. Even let's just say there's no facelift or anything. We'll give you the same exact car, but we'll just replace it with the B58. I think anybody with an N55 that doesn't have sentimental attachment to their car would take it. JP Denali and Garage Denali on. Oh, right on. Thanks for sharing that. Yep, that's right. Jonathan's got his own set of videos ready to go. Okay, so it's Garage Denali on Instagram. Got it. Yep, and Jonathan's really good too. So definitely check him out. Check out his page. Check out his videos. Prince Johnson, I recently bought a 2012 BMW 535 XI, and after driving it for a few hundred miles, it threw a drivetrain malfunction code, and the power is incredibly reduced. I want to say vacuum leak, drivetrain. Like, just because it says drivetrain malfunction doesn't necessarily mean it's drivetrain, but incredibly reduced power, it sounds like a vacuum leak somewhere. That's what the power reduction could be. Drivetrain malfunction could be anything. Depends on like what happened before, what code you're getting. I would say scan it, and then go from there. BMW N20 upgraded Shunk Turbo. Is that how you say it? Boot mode 3. Boot mode 3 is pretty reliable in the community. It's what I run on the N55. I'm actually kind of testing out the Bimmertech one right now. It's okay. One of the things that I would say is like it's great for people who want to set and forget it, but if anybody wants to ever tweak their car, it's not the best. So yeah, because you always have to call Bimmertech to make any adjustments. That's the only issue with their tune. So we'll see if they make any changes later on. But yeah, I say boot mode or MHD is always good for people who want the modularity. Prince, Jonathan has gotten something for you, and US Vision has got something for you, Jonathan. Prince, I took it to a European auto shop and they ran a code scanner through the car, as well as looking for the oil filter at the top of the engine. Saw some gold bronze dusting in there. I would say gold bronze dusting. I mean, I don't know what we gold and bronze. I'm assuming it's just like metal flaking and potentially like just the color of the oil kind of colored up the flaking. A little bit is kind of normal. If you have a lot, that's sign of something else. Yeah, when they scanned it, what codes were they getting? Basically told you need a new engine. I would say hold the phone on that one. You definitely need to fix something, but what it is, I don't know. Ask them what they got on the scan. If you don't believe them, you could just change the oil out yourself. I would say like do a small oil flush, like not, like don't use any of the flush additives. What you do is like put in 5 or about 7 quarts, depending on what car you have. Put that in there. Just let the car run on idle for a little bit. Give it a little bit of gas. Let it cool down for a little bit. Drain the oil. Like do a flush like that. And then you can add in oil again and then go from there. Yeah, I would say just try that first. If you have a buddy who has a scan tool and can scan it for you and give you the codes, also take down that information. Let's see. US Vision, FCP Euro for the brake parts. I'm thinking about maybe just the pads, but the rotors I actually want from ECS because ECS has some lighter weight rotors. I do want to lighten that aspect up of the car. I typically lean towards EBC for brake pads, but depending on where I get the rotors, if I can get a good enough deal, I might get the pads, rotors, and lines all from the same place. If weight wasn't an issue, I would go to FCP Euro. Jonathan, Prince has something for you. Graham has something for US Vision. Jonathan has something for Prince. 2 things for Prince. Brandon, how hard would you rate fixing the timing chain? I have not fixed it. So for me, it's a 10. I can't give you an honest answer on that. Sorry, Brandon. US Vision, ECS sells a differential tool, basically a bent tube. Highly recommend. I made a bent drain tube by inserting a coat hanger in a silicone hose. Not ideal. All right, MacGyver. Nice. Hey, if you get it done, you got it done. If it's a little messy with your handcrafted tool, I would say, I mean, that's still pretty cool, man. I think I just got mine off of Amazon, like $10 or something. Not super expensive. I would say if with the differential, you do kind of have to use that tool again to fill it. So I would say get at least two, one for clean fluids and one for dirty fluids. Jonathan Prince has something for you. Russian Bear, hey Fritz, love the content. Currently I have an M235i, but thinking of an F82 M4. Okay. What do you think of the S55 versus N55 that I've loved? Curious about performance, maintenance cost, your opinion on the engine. If cost is a concern, skip the S55, go for the B58, because with the S55, you have to do the crank hub. If you factor in the M tax and the crank hub versus a B58 with upgraded cooling components and stage 2 bolt-on mods, you're running it at significantly less money with the B58 for equivalent power. For nearly equivalent power, I should say. And then the upper ends of the B58 haven't even really been found, even if we're talking about like reliable power. Because remember, Toyota is making that B58 more reliable every single year. The S55, the development has stopped. But if your only options are an N55 or an S55, performance obviously is going to be better. Reliability is a toss-up because of the crank hub and because the valve cover is pretty much equal on those both. The cooling, again, kind of a toss-up. You have better cooling capacity on the S55. It's a little bit easier to get to, but it can be of a mess because of the cooler's placement. If you've already modded your N55, you're going to be paying a lot more money for not much more of an improvement, is what I would say. But if your N55 is stock and maybe the F82, right, is, juiced up a little bit, then it could be worth it. You're just paying the M tax. But if you just want power at the least amount of money as possible with increased reliability, B58 over the S55. You just get the namesake of the M. The S55, if you don't have the money to throw at it, and if you don't care about the M badge, it becomes increasingly harder to make the case for the for the S55 when you have the B58 sitting right there. More accessible, parts are more accessible. If you need to say, like, go to a junkyard to like pick up a scrap part for it or whatever, whether it be something on the chassis side, the engine side, whatever, it's just more accessible. Parts in them of itself are cheaper, and you don't have to do a crank hub. Yeah, sorry to kind of be a Debbie Downer there, but yeah, that's what I would say. If you have the money to throw at it and you're willing to kind of be okay, like if you run up against a B58, like you might not necessarily be the hotshot. You'll always like have the credibility of an M car, but that's kind of it. It's not that the car isn't good. It's just, it's not a great value anymore because of what else is out there. Let's see here. Jonathan, did you recently buy this car? If not, did you drive it a certain way to cause the sound to come up? Oh, this one's not for me. Let's see here. Russian Bear. M4 continued. Also curious about if you'd wait for prices to continue to drop. Seems like they are dropping like flies. They are. If you love the N55, you can wait. If you dislike the N55, or if there's something from your car that you're trying to like get out from underneath and say maintenance wise, like you don't want to pay for, and you see an S55, or if you see the M4 that you're looking for and it's in your price range, then pick it up now, don't wait. But if your N55 is running fine and there's no good reason for you to sell it, then just wait. Yeah, otherwise, like, yeah, if you find it, it's within your price range, all things, and just pick it up. Jonathan Prince has something for you. Jonathan, did you do an oil change after you bought the car? Oh, this one's not for me. Graham, funny story. 1 second. I did my brakes for the first time and put too much anti-seize, Tin Man's toothpaste, on the back of the rotors, and after doing rotors and pads, I got the freeway and on the back of the rotors, and after doing rotors and pads, I got on the freeway and braked and accelerated. Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. Oh my goodness, that must have been really scary. Yeah, anti-seize is that thing gets all over the place. You think you put a little and it ends up being a lot, and then you're like, okay, I cleaned it up, and then it's still all over the place. Yeah, that stuff. Yeah. I'm glad nothing happened to you. I'm glad that you're okay. Funny now, but probably not in the moment, right? Let's see here. US Vigim, Sport Mode or Sport Plus are the only acceptable modes. Start stop should be disabled. Absolutely. I'll slightly disagree with you with the start stop, because there's like a few intersections on my way to work that take forever to turn over. I feel like they take more than 5 minutes. I will manually use the start stop function in those, but for the most part, you're absolutely right. Start stop is disabled. On startup, it's disabled. So in BimmerTech, you can disable it on startup, and that's exactly what I did. Graham, the anti-seize spun out onto my pads and caused my pads to grip and seize. Oh, I put too much on there. I'm sure it was an accident, man. It happens all the time. Sometimes I think I put like a thin application like on my glove finger, and then one thing you know, I'm like, it's all over the place. But yeah, I'm glad nothing happened to you. And you know, after that, it's all gone. So hopefully there's nothing for you to really clean up. Glad you're okay though. Most importantly, glad that you're okay. Edkin, BMW extended warranty. Do you think it's worth it? No, I don't. Because I can work, because I do my own work. So I would say if you're not mechanically inclined, it can be worth it if it's within your budget. If you're mechanically inclined, it's not worth it. Jonathan, Soul Slinger's got something for you, as well as Prince. Soul Slinger, I did get in touch with E39 Source about the job. Got the blue bus as well. Love it. Oh, okay. Ooh, I think I'm getting distracted here. Let's see here. Oh, let's see this continuation. I've done just about everything I have to have time to. Moving forward, it's going to be taken to Kessel Motorsports. Oh, well, if it's beyond your expertise, then yeah, there's no way I got a shot at doing anything like that. I mean, if you've done everything, why wouldn't it last? I mean, you've only had the car for so long, but I mean, you know, you've addressed some of the things that were wrong with it probably. I'm sure the car will last you. I'm going to think positively for you. The car is going to last. Prince, Jonathan has something for you. Graham, I upgraded my 14 M235i from a 2000 Civic. Okay. That had 214,000 miles on it. Flown down to LA from the Bay Area on a one-way ticket and drove it back up Highway 1. Most baller thing I've ever done. Best investment. Okay, right on. I have a friend who almost did that for an M3. He was actually going to fly both of us on a one-way and drive it back. It sounds like the car's been worth it for you, man. I hope you enjoyed it. Awesome story. 214K. I hope your M235i gets well beyond that. N55, it's possible. You can do it. I hope one day I can do some baller stuff like you. Let's see here. Jonathan, the stupid start-stop feature made my car throw a drivetrain malfunction error and put my car in park. Yeah, yeah. If you don't want it on, it can just throw off everything. Yeah, if you guys have Bimmer code, just turn that feature off. There's a way that you can turn it off like within the app, and it's quick. Let's hear. Soul Singer, I'll have them do the timing chain job and drive it till the engine gives up. I've serviced the entire drivetrain, new drive shaft too. Oh, that's right. That one took a while though to just get the part. Took a while for you, but I'm glad that you got it in. Yeah, timing chain. That's a time consuming job. I'm hoping that car lasts you, man. You know, as time goes on, they become more and more rare. I know that you're going to be one of the people who takes good care of it. We'll probably see it up on forums and on shows one day. I'm looking forward to the future of that car with you. Looking forward to the future of that car while it's under your ownership. Usage, I'm happy with the MHD tune, stage 2. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions about MHD, please refer them to US Vision because he has the experience with it. I have a little bit of experience with BM3, so I'll try to help out on that end. Let's see here. Ed, can anyone having seized brake rotor locator bolt? They broke off and I can't get it back off with a bolt extractor tool. Oh, the head broke off? Is that what you're saying? Ooh. Brake rotor locator. Oh, or the head stripped. I know there's like a small hack for that. Yeah, I think only way to do it is to drill through the head a little bit and use an extractor to pull it out. Yeah, that thing is... And anybody who does a brake, put a little bit of anti-seize on that. Hand tight. It's really only meant to keep it in place because once you put in your lug bolts or studs, whatever it is, and then it's tightened down with the wheel on, it's going to stay in place like that. Yeah. So it doesn't need to go on extremely tight if you decide to put it back on. And then Ed can, once you figure out like however you get it off, please share. Prince, the codes came back as camshaft issues and other things relating to camshaft. Maybe they're right. Get a second opinion if you can, or have a friend who's with a scan tool. Do the flush as we recommended. Yeah, I mean, if you have metal shavings, that one's already kind of tough. Yeah, do the flush as we recommended. If you can, yeah, just go from there. Take it one step at a time. I haven't had that issue yet. So if anybody with more experience can help out Prince, we'd appreciate it. Sorry I wasn't more helpful on that one. Dr. Czar, if Big Pharma made engine oil, it would expire every 4 months. More like every 4 days. Oh my goodness. Oh, that was a good one. Yeah. I actually have a background in bio. So before all of this, I actually wanted to go to medical school. So that one humors the other side of me. Oh my goodness. Jonathan Prince has something for you. US Vigim. I will look at ECS for rotors. They have the same replacement warranty as FCP. ECS gets a bad rap online. Haven't had issues with them. I've seen that, but same thing. I haven't had an issue. I have noticed, generally speaking, I don't know what it is. It could also just be like my location, but ECS, their shipping times usually are what they say they are. Sorry, FCP. No, I'm mixing up all the names now. So ECS tuning, whatever they say that their shipping estimated time is, it's usually like spot on. FCP Euro will usually come a day ahead of whenever they say that it's going to come, at least for me. So, you know, these places are probably shipping out from their headquarters or whatever, and I'm over here in the Bay Area in California. So I don't know what anyone else's experience. Maybe that could shift depending on where you're at. Maybe if you're closer on the East Coast, it's opposite or whatnot, or if you're kind of close to them, then it doesn't really matter. Just wanted to add that bit in there. Mark you just sent me a DM. Okay, I'll check it as soon as the stream's done, and we'll touch base. Soul Slinger, the entire car has been taken apart for extensive repairs. I just work too much now. I also want a warranty for the timing chain job. E39 source says it's a 42-hour. I do not have the patience for that. And yeah, good choice. Good choice in that. And you do work too hard. One day, man. I hope we can partner up on something. We get something passive going for you. You do work too much. You need to enjoy more time with your family as well as some alone time for yourself. Yeah, you work incredibly hard, my friend. Graham, what's a sweet spot in price and performance for brake pads and rotors nowadays? Aluminum hat. What totally? I had it towed for a buddy's shop, and the mechanic had a good time laughing at me. Performance for brake pads and rotors. Let's look it up. If someone's willing to match FCP Euro or ECS, it's pretty good. So this looks like a full set for 500. You could go a little cheaper for 300. And it looks like you could go all the way up to Stop Tech. So big brake kit. Oh, this isn't even really a big brake kit. And this isn't necessarily a lightweight kit. So like, let's see here. So this is the one that I was looking at. I was looking at these 2-piece rotors. So I guess, so let's say 500, right? After tax, it's going to be about 500. If you get this, and this is just the front, so 700 for the front. Let's call it what it is at 800. You don't need to go all that crazy in the rear because most of the braking is in the front. So another 200. So you could say 1,000 for the rotors and performance rotors. And I like EBC. So let's say 1,500. So when you're from 500 to 1,500, depending on how much performance you want. is what I would say. US Vision, have a great night, gents. Glad to see the community growing. Yep. Thank you for being part of it, man. Helping us grow it from the beginning. Have a good night. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Russian Bear, agreed. The B58 is a great platform, even compared to the S55. Curious which platforms would you get into with the B58? M240, 340, Supra, X3M. Have you considered any of those as the next project? I did want the Supra, just because it's a different chassis. I really, really dislike the visibility from the driver's position. So I'm probably not going to go with the Supra. I've considered selling the F30 that my dad and I have and just upgrading him to a 340. So I'll still keep the M235i and he'll get the upgraded B58. And that might be the upgrade that we go with. I like that idea, one, because, you know, my dad's like 70. He doesn't drive the car hard at all. As more things happen with the B58, one, I can trust he's not going to drive it into the ground. And then as the performance parts come out, we can upgrade along the way. And it's still a growing platform, so it'll be good, right? And then maybe one day when the N55, finally fails on me, and if he doesn't want to drive anymore at his older age, then that could be the primary. But we'll see. We'll see what else is out there. But honestly, I think we would upgrade his N26 to a B58. I think that's what we would do. Graham, best investment ever. She's been solid. My Batmobile, I look back at it every time I get out of it. I got to be honest. I do the same thing with mine. So we're two peas in a pod there, for sure. I'm glad that you love it. Yeah, I mean, I bought my car salvaged, and I feel the same way as you. No regrets. I think it was a great investment. I had it since just under 30,000 miles and bought it for just under 20. Just under 20, shipped here from Utah, I believe. Absolutely love it. Soul Slinger, double Vanos, double. I can do it. I'm just tired now. I'm not taking or doing any big jobs this year. I'll just pay for it. I got it for $1,500. Oh, nice. Drop probably $3K into it, maybe more. So paying for a shop to do the work won't hurt too much on the overall price I've paid. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good steal. Of course, it depends on what how it was when you first got it, the overall condition. But I don't think you would have bought it at that price if you thought you could get it for lower. Yeah, I mean, in your position, I mean, as capable as you are, I mean, at this point, I know you value your free time now. So, yeah, man, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you. Whatever you want to do, man, I think you're going to make the right decision no matter what. You got a family to spend time with. You need your own time to maintain your sanity. I know that you could do it, with your eyes closed, but, you still need time for you and your family, man. Jonathan, FCP shipping is good for me, and they're in Connecticut. ECS is in Ohio, and they're decent as well. Okay. So maybe it does depend on where you are, and I guess which option of shipping you decide to get. Up at 3 a.m. Oh my goodness. I feel like that's earlier than before. Off at 5:30 p.m. I did multiple engine swaps over the past 2 years, plus my own work. I'm relaxing this year. You deserve it, man. Yeah, don't worry about it. As much as I can. You deserve it, man. I mean, if you decide to get back into it, it'll be like riding a bike for you. Dude, like, you've told me like your schedule before and everything. Take it easy, man. You got your kid, he's growing up, and yeah, just enjoy it, man. You worked hard. I mean, what's the point in life if you work so hard and you never spend the money that you earn with the people that you love, right? And at this point, man, I mean, you've saved up, you got people in your life that you care about. Spend it wisely with them. Graham, thanks. Yeah, no problem, man. Happy to help. Prince, have a good night, and thanks, Jonathan and Fritz. We'll try to keep updating on my friends. Yeah. Hope it goes smoothly. Like I said, man, one step at a time. You got it, man. Graham, Fritz, we're in the Bay Area. Are you? I'm in Oakland. So amazing cars around us. I drive 580 on Saturday mornings to Marin. Enjoy seeing the nice cars out on the road. So I'm more in the South Bay. So like I work in San Jose, but I actually grew up. I went to high school in Alameda, actually. So I went to Encinal. A lot of my friends went to Skyline in Oakland. And then I went to Laney before my JC, and I went to East Bay to finish out my bachelor's in bio. But yeah, I feel like I've slowly, from like Oakland, Alameda area, just been moving more and more south. If they fix all the cracks and potholes on 580, I agree that 580 is the better drive than 880 all the time, because 880 is just a straight drive. But 580 is definitely the better drive. One of my favorite, if the road is smooth or even with a little bit of traffic, it's fun with a little bit of traffic, is when you're on 880 and you're going northbound and you do that transition from 880 to 580. And then you take it like you're going to Oakland. So those two exchanges, oh my goodness, what is that? I forget what the exchange portion is called. But when you're on 880 and then you go to 580, like you're going to Pleasanton, and then you take the loop around to go to Oakland, like that transition, because you take those two big loops, those two big corners, that transaction is really fun, especially in our cars. But you know what also is a good one is, like, if you're coming from like that same, like if you're coming from the opposite end, like Walnut Creek, Pleasanton, and you're coming down towards Oakland, but then you make that loop through 24, and then you have to hit that high arch, and then you ride 24 until you loop back on to like 580 or 880, depending on which way you go. That's a fun route too. Russian Bear, Graham, yeah, you should check out Alice's restaurant on Sunday morning. Look, oh, whoa, Russian Bear, where are you at? Where are you at? You're here in the Bay Area with us too. Okay, look at us. We got an N55 group of people. We got Bay Area people. Okay, right on. Graham, I've got a warehouse of dented rims on my patio from all the potholes. Last year, 3 tires and 2 rims. You would imagine, with all the money that we pay in taxes, with registration and everything, that they could fix the roads. I feel like we pay like the highest in taxes, and our roads are like one of the worst. But I mean, I guess, what do you expect? Our tax dollars are going to all the right places, let's say, you know. But hey, despite all that, at least we got each other, and at least we got our cars, right? Okay, yeah, Russian Bear, and you just kind of like just snuck that one in there, you know, like you didn't even just say it, you just kind of like thought that nobody would notice, but we noticed. Yeah, Alice's restaurant in South Bay, a lot of nice cars there. Okay. All right. Well, hey, I mean, one day we got to meet up. One day, I mean, I feel like there's always like good Bay Area meetups and events and things like that. One day we got to coordinate. Soul Singer's got to drive for us. It is Battlefield. Getting past Bremerton, is that how you say it? Bremerton is a fight. Morning is fine, but afternoons are brutal. Oh, I remember. Oh, okay, I'm not gonna say it on here, but I remember how you tell me how you drive to work, so I'm not gonna out you here. But your morning commute, from what you told me, sounds fun though. Oh my goodness. Oh man. I mean, this is probably like the funnest live stream that we've had in a while. We got everybody back. Maybe everybody's back from like the holiday break or whatever. But this is a great way to start off the new year. I mean, I know that we're pretty much done with the first month, but yeah, thanks everyone. I mean, this was extremely fun for me. Got to figure out a few people were just hiding out here in my backyard. Found out a few more people were here in the N55 community. I love it. Thanks everyone. I couldn't have asked for more. This is exactly what I was looking for. Charles is saying that the roads of Jamaica are rough as well, but they're scenic. That's kind of like what we got over on the 580 side as well. The more scenic it gets, the worse the roads get, actually. And Jonathan, I'll see you in that one. Okay, Jonathan seems to got my catchphrase down a little bit here. But yeah, this is exactly what I was hoping for when I started doing the live streams. The community would come together, we'd grow. I'd love to see the interaction that everybody had here, talking to each other. This is exactly what I hope for with these live streams. So thanks everybody for that made this happen. I absolutely love it. Charles cracked all my stuff. Ooh. Rims, burst a couple of tires. Oh my goodness. Too bad you guys don't have like an American Tire or discount tires over there, because at least they would be warranted. Soul Singer, I couldn't have done it without you, man. Thank you so much. But it's already 8:30. I better close up shop here, get something to eat. I don't know, people are probably wondering, like, why am I here so late for? Just hanging out, talking by myself. At least they probably think I'm talking to myself or whatever. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I hope all of you are doing well. Have a great rest of your week. And now I definitely cannot wait until next Tuesday. And I'll see all of you in that one.